Good morning, everybody. It's Dave and it's Bo, and we're headed out to the garden this morning. It is a beautiful sunny day here in Southern California. It was 80 degrees yesterday. Today, it would help you to know, is December the 16th, 2024, and I'm excited to show you all the work that I got to do this week. So first of all, I have finished this first bed that I've been working on, and I am really pleased with how it turned out. And it's a little bit different than last year when I added all of the violas and everything for a lot more color. This year I added a few more grasses with the Liriope Monroe's White, added 5 of those, cut back all of the Cuphea Rosea Alba. We've got our foxgloves down against the building, and those all survived the summer. And we've also got a few new plants planted, such as the sedum back there, and I forget the variety name, but it is in last week's video. We've also moved around a lot of roses. I did add over here to brighten some things up with some more variegation. This is a variegated oregano, which I'm really excited to see grow and fill up this area. I've also got a lot of the elfantine sprinkled around here, as well as the lindaria, which is that little ground cover there, which hopefully will fill up this area really nicely. And in the back as well, I've got some isotoma blooming in those little clumps. So this bed is pretty well done. And then I started as well over here. So I got all the leaves off of the cherry tree. They were pretty well done anyway. Once the leaves really turn yellow, and I'll show you this on the apricot tree, it is okay at this point to pull all those leaves off. They are not doing anything really as far as photosynthesizing, putting energy back into the plant before it goes dormant. Once it turns yellow, the green chlorophyll is gone, and it's real easy just to go through and even just take a handful of leaves like that. So once you do that, generally speaking, what you want to do is cut back any branches that might be crossing, any branches that are going toward, for instance, the center here. You want to have everything kind of vase-shaped, if you will. So everything is heading out like these branches here at the right are. And even Bo is there helping supervise. A beautiful pittosporum. I think that is beach ball, but I'm not 100% sure. It's been a year since I planted that. I just got all the weeds cut back around it and pruned it back to its globular shape. Also pruned back Lynn Anderson here, and we've got our Caprasma. I forget which variety this is, but the Caprasma is held up surprisingly well in this really kind of sunny area in the garden. And there's just a ton more varieties of these on the market today. This was a big plant back in the 1950s. Mirror plant is a common name that you'll hear this called. But there weren't really any varieties, and now there are, and they've got some pretty cool fancy names to them that almost want to, make you want to buy them. So the marketing department did very, very well. As you can see, I still have a lot of weeds to get through this week, and I'll be doing that within the next few days. Beautiful Leonotis blooms there as well. I apologize for the background noise because there's a person that is cutting down a tree about 6, 7, 8 houses away. Over here, we've got the almond bush still. And it's funny looking this up, it is in the same family as lemon verbena. Also, that this can get rather large. This can get up 6, 8, 10 feet tall. And actually some people have made it into a small tree, but you can also keep it as a small shrub as well. So that is my goal. Got some sunlight coming up here, so excuse the angle of that, but the crabapple tree did beautiful. I'll be cutting that back shortly as well and uncovering the plants that are back here. But I am always amazed at that gigantic foxglove back there, so I can't wait to see the blooms that those generate this coming year. The Tabernet Montana, I bought that just about a year ago. That has survived. I am super pleased with that. This back here to the right of the cage is a random pepper that has seeded, and that has been around for 2 years now. Westringia, and this plant is going to move. It just is not the right place for it. And also moving is going to be the Princess Caroline de Monaco rose. Now, speaking of moving roses, I need to come back over here, and I wanted to point out that of all the roses in this bed, and there's like 8 of them, 5 of them have moved, including Bo, and she's wrapped around the cat attracting plant, the Teucrium. But we moved this from one space to another. When you cut back roses, make sure to compensate for any root loss, especially on a rose that's been in the area for quite a while. This is called Heaven. This has been there the entire time. This one I brought from the front yard. I believe this one is called Sunrise Sunset. It has a beautiful bicolor bloom to it. The sterling silver next to it, I just bought it because sterling silver is a very old-timey fashioned rose. It is really the first lavender that is decent, very, very fragrant, not super great in terms of cutting, but it does have a nice fragrance to it, and not much more to say about that. I have it just for the nostalgia part. So over here, this is Ingrid Bergman. I have dug it up and raised the bud union because this area here was sunk down. So I put in about 2 cubic feet of soil. I did use a raised bed planting soil to fill this area up, and then I did the mulch on top, and there's about 6 cubic feet of the shredded bark. And I did use a shredded cedar bark here, and you always want to do this fairly thick so you can kind of see how deep that this mulch is. It's several inches deep. And then we've got over here just Joey, that stayed in its regular position. And we've got over here, this is Color Magic, which was against the wall to the right. And then Alina. Now you can see the bud union and how large that is. And of course, last time that you saw this, it was pretty much buried. And if I can remember as well, I will pop in a video here of this just as it is raised up out of the ground. All right, I've just finished lifting the roses, and you can see from Alina here how much of that bud union was underneath the soil. Now, earlier on, it was buried right to about here. And now look at that, we lifted that up about 4 or 5 inches above the soil from where it was. So you want to have that bud union above the soil, and we have that the same thing here with Ingrid Bergman. Everything from that rose was buried. We lifted it up a few inches. We did have to sever some of the major roots, but it'll still recover from that and it'll be just fine. You normally, what I would do is prune it back a little bit harder to compensate for the root loss. All right, let's take a look at the other parts of the yard. Again, you can kind of see the foliage turning on the nectarine and peach. The Cecile Brunner rose will definitely need to be cut back soon. And also I want to thin out the macadamia tree. And again, that is just about 1 year of growth from the macadamia. If you look at last year's video, you'll see that it is cut back tremendously. Just give you a little pan of the garden there. Then over here, same thing with the Chiananthus. Most all the leaves are gone. A few of the berries left for the birds. And you can kind of see the guy pruning the tree down the block. Got the clivia. I still need to prune the Japanese maple over here, and the silver dragon liriope looking really nice. I need to do some weeding in this area. And here's another of those peppers that have seeded in everywhere. Still some blooms on the heliotrope back there. The bee balm, that needs to be cut back literally all the way to the ground, and you'll generally see all the new growth at the base coming up. And then it'll stay low until we get warm in the springtime. And then those will grow up. Beautiful variegated alstroemeria. The Devalia and Ajuga coming through. This is another of those mirror plants. We are looking at some rain next week, which will be different. It'll be our first rainstorm in literally a couple months, and that's kind of scary since we're in December already. But I think the last time we had rain was in the end of August was our main storm, and September we had another small storm come through, but this one's supposed to be about 4 days. Got the geranium there. That beautiful begonia in the background. Chamaecyparis primo. And still a lot of plants to get into the ground. You can also see the leucogen blooms growing. We'll take a quick look here again at that little corner that we planted on this side of the air conditioning unit. Still need to work on this side. And I want to add the bricks over here to match the bricks on this side. The pink breath of heaven coming into bloom. And also almost completely thinned out now is the Magnolia Solangiana, and I can actually go ahead and start pruning this right now because a lot of the growth that still has the leaves on it is going to be cut back anyway. It's usually a water sprout or water growth and takes away from the normal shape of the tree. So I'll be starting on that. And keep in mind with like the garden projects like this, especially now that, you know, I'm a little bit older, I will take these in pieces rather than something 20 years ago I would have done in one day. So I'll cut generally maybe a third, a third, a third, and then I'll go through maybe a week later after that, and then maybe do some fine detail work on that. So with that, I think I will give you the tip of the day on fertilizing. All right, so the fertilizer that Bo and I like to use is Grow Power. And Grow Power has been around for a really long time. It is a fertilizer I sold in the nursery business back in the late 1980s. It is just a fantastic organic fertilizer. And I utilize it not so much in the wintertime because there's really not a whole lot of organic activity going on. but it is something I'll put on a couple times during the year, maybe about 3 or 4 months in between feedings. And it's just a general, as it says, all-purpose fertilizer. But I wanted to point out that all your fertilizers are going to be posting 3 numbers. And that first number, this is actually nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So when it says 5, it means it's 5% nitrogen, 3% phosphorus, and 1% potassium. On your fertilizers that are chemical or synthetic, they're going to have much higher numbers. They're also going to have a lot of salts in the fertilizer as well, such as Miracle-Gro that you're probably familiar with. I think the numbers there are like 15, 30, 15. So it's kind of like giving your plants cocaine in a way, because it really is a sharp jolt of fertilizer. Not that that's bad or anything like that, but they do require that constant feeding, and especially with a liquid like Miracle-Gro, that leaches from the soil very, very quickly. With an organic fertilizer, it's much slower, it's much more natural, and you're not worried about burning a plant or providing so much nutrients that it overloads the soil. With this, you've got a nice amount of nutrients for the growth. That's the greenness, that's the nitrogen part. The phosphorus is what does the blooms. And then the potassium does several things, but also some root development. Now, beneath that, and you'll see that in the guaranteed analysis there, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, 5, 3, 1. You also have some minor nutrients as well. When we talk about minor nutrients, you only need a really small amount of minor nutrients, hence the name minor. So iron is probably the most needed, and you've got over here 1% iron. We've got manganese, and we've also got zinc, and you're looking at 0.05%. So that is how little that's in there. But you're looking at, that's all the plant really needs. Generally, you don't want to do a zinc supplement or a manganese supplement. Some people do iron supplements, especially if they have gardenias, azaleas, camellias, and they start to yellow, and the yellowing is not caused by water. When you start to see yellowing leaves with water, the entire leaf turns yellow. When you're looking at an iron deficiency, the veins of the leaf usually stay green, and you can turn the leaf over and see that. So that's a little fertilizer information for you, and I'll return you to your regularly scheduled program. I will see you next week with another video.